In this world, power is not always seized with the sword. Sometimes, it is taken with silence. Today, we face a question that plagues every ruler, leader, and common man alike. When insulted, should you strike back, or should you stay silent? Let me show you why silence, used wisely, is the most dangerous reply of all. I am Niccolò Machiavelli, and I have studied the rise and fall of princes, the victories of generals, and the cunning of men. From these lessons, I present to you a law few dare to follow. Stay quiet after disrespect, for to answer every insult is to place yourself on the same ground as the fool who speaks it, but to remain still is to rise above them while plotting their undoing. When a man is insulted, the common instinct is to rise, to answer, to defend himself. But the wise know that the truest reply to disrespect is not noise, but silence. For silence, in the hands of one who understands power, is not emptiness. It is a blade drawn slowly from its sheath. Every fool expects his words to ignite you, to pull you into his theater, to make you dance on his stage. When you deny him that reaction, you do more than ignore him, you deny him his weapon. In the courts of princes I have seen this truth unfold. The man who answers every barb with words shows himself easily moved, and in the eyes of others, he appears fragile. He reveals his wound to the world and invites his enemies to strike it again. But the man who sits unmoved, whose eyes do not flicker at the insult, unsettles his attacker. For the insult was meant to wound, yet you stand uncut. This is the beginning of fear. They wonder, did he not hear me? Does he not care? Or worse, is he waiting? Silence places the burden on the offender. Words are like arrows, and the moment they are loosed, they fly without return. The archer cannot call them back. If those words meet no resistance, no counterattack, they hang in the air like a foul stench. The people around will not forget them, but neither will they forget the one who spoke them. Without your participation, the insult becomes their problem, not yours. They must live with their own outburst, their own loss of control. And here is the cunning in silence. It does not mean you are doing nothing. While your lips remain still, your mind is at work. You observe, you measure, you note the tremor in their voice, the flicker of their eyes, the force with which they speak. These are signs of their weakness. Every insult is a confession. The offender reveals where he feels threatened by you. It is in this moment, while he believes he has won, that you quietly gather the ammunition for your eventual victory. Understand also that silence is not passive. It is active restraint. It is the art of choosing not to give what is expected. Men feed on the reactions of others. They hurl disrespect like fishermen casting bait into the water, waiting for the bite. The moment you respond, they reel you in, and you are trapped in their frame. But when you do not bite, their bait floats uselessly, their effort wasted. Frustration sets in. They try harder, louder, more desperately to provoke you. And with each attempt, they show more of themselves. In politics, in war, in the chambers where fortunes are decided, I have seen the power of silence destroy reputations without a single word spoken in reply. A prince once told me, to answer every insult is to confess your fear. And he was right. When you meet every attack with defense, you admit that the words have struck you. You display your injury, and in doing so, you teach others how to hurt you again. But when you say nothing, something far more dangerous happens. You deny your enemy the satisfaction of knowing whether he has reached you. You make him question the success of his strike. And in the quiet that follows, the people watching are left to interpret your silence. Some will think you are above the insult, others will suspect you are planning a far greater blow. Either way, the image that forms is one of control, not submission. Silence also manipulates time. Words are bound to the moment, they flare and fade. But silence stretches, it lingers, it becomes a shadow over the speaker's mind. Long after the insult has been spoken, the offender replays it in his head, wondering what you thought, what you plan, whether there will be retribution. This uncertainty is its own punishment. He is trapped in the prison of his imagination, a prison you have built without lifting a hand. And so silence becomes a tool not just of defense, but of attack. By refusing to engage, you force your adversary into a position where he must guess your next move. He will imagine possibilities far worse than anything you could say aloud. His mind will invent threats, and in fearing them, he will weaken himself. This is how silence wounds without striking. It is important to remember that silence works, because it is deliberate. There is a difference between the silence of the powerless and the silence of the powerful. The former is born from fear, the latter from choice. The man who chooses silence is not without weapons. He is simply choosing the moment to draw them. His quiet is not surrender, but preparation, and preparation is everything. By holding your tongue, you buy time. Time to think, time to plan, time to let the situation ripen until the perfect opportunity to act presents itself. Those who rush to speak, rush to act, often find themselves trapped by their own haste. But the one who waits can choose his battlefield, his timing, his terms. This is why silence, when held with confidence, terrifies more than the loudest outburst. When a man disrespects you, it is never a random act. It is a signal, a crack in the armor, a confession he cannot help but make. Most see only the sting of the insult, the sharp edge of the words, but the wise see beyond the surface. They see the trembling hand that threw the stone. Every attack, every public slight, carries within it a truth, the truth that the offender feels something toward you he cannot control. Fear, envy, insecurity. Perhaps all three. Think carefully on this. A man does not strike unless he feels threatened. He does not speak your name with venom unless it has weight in his mind. When they try to cut you down with words, they are not revealing your weakness. They are exposing their own. It is like a fortress commander shouting insults across the field. It tells you he fears your army more than he wishes to admit. To the crowd, it may seem like confidence, but to the eyes of a strategist, it is a desperate act to mask the shaking within. I have seen this among princes, ministers, and merchants alike. The rival who mocks you in front of others reveals that you are a figure worth addressing. If you were truly insignificant, they would not waste their breath. To be ignored is to be irrelevant. To be attacked is to be recognized as a threat. This is why the moment of disrespect should be studied, not merely felt. It is a map to the insecurities of the speaker. Watch them closely when they speak. Does their voice rise, betraying tension? Do they rush their words, as if trying to strike before you have a chance to reply? Do they seek the eyes of others while insulting you, needing an audience to feel safe? All of these are signals that they are using the insult not to harm you, but to protect themselves. For the insecure man hides behind offense, as a soldier hides behind a shield. There is a truth that many cannot bear. Those who speak with venom toward you are often the same ones who have measured themselves against you and found themselves lacking. Their disrespect is the cry of a wounded pride. They want to pull you into a contest on their terms, where they believe they might have some advantage. But if you do not engage, if you do not even acknowledge the challenge, you leave them swinging at shadows. In the courts of power, I have seen this dynamic destroy men. A counselor, threatened by another's influence, begins to spread small insults, subtle remarks meant to undermine. If the target answers each one, he lowers himself to the level of petty quarrels. The onlookers begin to see both as equally small, equally consumed by the feud. But if the target remains still, the counselor's attacks grow sharper, more reckless. In his desperation to hurt, he overreaches, and in doing so, reveals his own true motives to all. An insult, you see, is rarely about you. It is about the one who speaks it. It is about the storm within them, the dissatisfaction they cannot silence. When a man's position is secure, when his mind is calm, he has no need to speak ill of others. Disrespect flows only from those who feel a lack of control, and in their attempt to harm, they lay bare that lack for everyone to see. This is why it is often more powerful to let them speak uninterrupted. Each word they choose becomes another thread in the rope they will hang themselves with. Silence here serves as a mirror. You hold it up before them, and they see their own reflection in their words. The absence of your reply forces them to fill the void with more talk, more justification, more noise. They cannot endure the quiet, because the quiet makes them confront the truth of why they attacked in the first place. The longer you remain unmoved, the more they reveal, sometimes to the point where they confess things they never meant to share. Consider also the effect on those who watch. People are not blind to insecurity, even if they cannot always name it. They notice when someone's barbs are laced with bitterness, when a man cannot speak your name without a sneer, and when they see you endure it without losing your composure, they begin to suspect that you are the stronger party. The disrespect, instead of diminishing you, becomes proof of your standing. It is the paradox of conflict. The more they attack, the more they admit you matter. This is the reason that in both politics and personal affairs, the insult is a more valuable clue than the compliment. A compliment may be sincere, or it may be empty courtesy. It tells you little of the speaker's heart, but a disrespect that cannot be faked without cost. It comes from somewhere real, somewhere deep. And if you have the discipline to observe rather than react, you can trace it back to its source, the place where your adversary feels most exposed. Every word they speak against you is a step they take towards showing their own fear. And fear is the chink in every armor. It cannot be hidden forever, and once revealed, it can be used. The key is patience. The patience to let them speak, to let them reveal themselves fully before you decide how to move. For a man who exposes his weakness in public has already begun to lose, even if he does not yet know it. There is a reason the impulsive fall quickly, and the patient rise slowly but steadily to the heights of power. To react instantly to disrespect is to surrender control to the offender. It is to let them dictate the terms, the timing, and the battlefield. But to wait, to measure, to choose your moment, that is the mark of a ruler, a tactician, a master of his own fate. Strategic patience is not the absence of action, it is the art of delaying it until its impact will be greatest. When you are disrespected, the temptation to respond burns hot. Anger urges you to speak, to strike back at once, to prove your strength in the moment. But strength shown too quickly can become weakness. A sword swung without aim cuts nothing of value. The wise know that the first blow is not always the most decisive. It is often the one delivered at the right time, when the opponent least expects it. I have seen men in the courts of princes ruin themselves by acting too soon. A minister insulted before the assembly leaps to his defense, raising his voice, matching insult with insult. The room remembers his outburst, not his point. He leaves the hall thinking he has defended his honor, yet in truth, he has confirmed his rival's claim, that he is easily provoked, quick to abandon reason, and therefore unfit for measured leadership. The one who holds his tongue in such a moment holds far more than silence. He holds the upper hand. Strategic patience turns time into a weapon. By not reacting immediately, you give yourself space to assess the true nature of the attack. Was it planned or accidental? Was it a direct strike at your position, or a desperate attempt to provoke you into exposing yourself? Many insults are traps. They exist not to harm you in that instant, but to lure you into a reaction that will cause greater harm later. The man who answers without thinking walks willingly into the net. The man who waits lets the net fall empty. And while you wait, the insult does its work, but not on you. It works on the one who spoke it. Doubt begins to grow in their mind. They wonder why you have not responded, why you have not defended yourself. Each day you remain silent, their certainty turns to unease. They begin to imagine that you are preparing something, that your reply will not be words, but something far worse. This fear makes them clumsy. It makes them defensive even when you have not yet moved. Patience also allows the moment to ripen. Just as a fruit must reach its peak before it is plucked, so must an insult reach the point where the offender's overconfidence makes them vulnerable. Let them believe you are passive, that you have accepted the slight. Let them speak more freely, expose themselves more fully. Each word they utter is a stone they place in the wall you will one day use to trap them. by the time you act. Their own behavior will have built the case against them so thoroughly that no one will doubt the justice of your strike. I have witnessed great commanders use this principle in war. They endure small provocations at the border, knowing that to rush into battle would cost more than it would gain. Instead, they allow the enemy to grow overconfident, to believe they are unafraid of consequence. Then, when the enemy's guard is lowered and their supply lines are stretched thin, the commander moves, and the victory is decisive, crushing, leaving no room for recovery. The same principle holds in the battles of words and influence. The impatient man seeks the satisfaction of the moment. The patient man seeks the triumph of the end. And while the crowd may at first think you have been defeated by your silence, time will reveal the truth. Those who mocked you will find themselves mocked. Those who doubted you will see your wisdom, and those who attacked you will wonder why they were not more cautious. This is the slow, cold power of strategic patience. In waiting, you also choose the ground on which you will fight. Reacting immediately forces you to meet your enemy where they are strong. Waiting allows you to pull them toward where they are weak. You are no longer bound to the place or the form of the original insult. You can shape the encounter into whatever form serves you best. This is how small slights are transformed into great victories. Strategic patience is a test of discipline. It demands that you master yourself before you attempt to master others. For in the heat of insult, the greatest danger is not your enemy's words. It is your own impulse. To control that impulse is to hold the true seat of power. When you are capable of letting an offense pass in silence, not because you are afraid, but because you are choosing the time of your response, you become untouchable in the eyes of those who watch. Those who move too soon are like archers who loose their arrows at the first sight of the enemy. They may hit something, but they rarely decide the battle. Those who wait until the target is exposed, until the range is certain, until the wind favors the shot, they are the ones whose arrows change the course of history. Patience turns every insult into an investment, every delay into interest that compounds, until the moment you decide to collect. In every confrontation, there is a stage. Sometimes it is a courtroom, sometimes a battlefield, sometimes a dinner table where the audience is only a handful of watching eyes. The moment someone disrespects you, they are inviting you onto their stage. They want you to play the role they have written for you. The defensive man, the angry fool, the one who loses control. If you step onto their stage without thought, you are no longer the author of your own story. You are an actor in theirs. Control of the stage is control of perception, and perception is the lifeblood of power. It is not enough to be strong. You must be seen as strong, composed, and unshaken. When insulted, the one who reacts first surrenders the frame to the other. The moment you answer with raised voice or heated words, you are following their script. And once you follow their script, the audience remembers not the insult, but the reaction, not the aggressor, but the one who could not remain composed. The man who controls the stage does not rush to reply. He lets the moment breathe, lets the words of the offender echo and linger. In that silence, the crowd's attention shifts. At first, all eyes were on you, expecting your defense, but as you hold your calm, their gaze moves back to the one who spoke. Now the weight of the moment rests on them. They feel it. They begin to wonder if they have said too much, revealed too much, stepped too far. Every insult is an attempt to set the scene in the attacker's favor. They want the light to shine on your reaction, to pull you into a fast-paced exchange where they feel they can win. By remaining silent, by refusing to move at their pace, you change the tempo. You slow it down until they are no longer in control of the rhythm. When you dictate the rhythm, you dictate the outcome. I have seen this principle in the courts of princes, where the most dangerous man in the room was not the loudest, but the quietest. While others spoke over each other, grasping for the ruler's favor, he sat still, speaking only when the room had grown silent. And when he did, every head turned, every word landed. His power came not from the number of words spoken, but from the fact that he chose when the scene would shift, and in that choice, the entire stage bent to him. Silence, in these moments, is not just absence, it is dominance. It tells the room that you are not here to play a part written by another. You will speak when you decide the time is right, not a moment before. This forces the aggressor into a dangerous place. They must keep talking to fill the void. And with each sentence, they risk exposing themselves further. They cannot endure the quiet, because the quiet is not neutral. It belongs to you. Controlling the stage also means deciding where the final memory of the encounter will rest. Words are fleeting in the moment, but people remember the image you leave them with. If you explode in anger, that is the image they carry home. If you remain composed, if you stand unshaken, they remember that instead. The aggressor's words may be sharp, but they will fade. Your calm presence will not. The man who speaks last, and on his own terms, writes the ending of the scene. It is not only the timing of your response that matters, but the manner in which you deliver it. A measured reply after a pause carries more weight than a flurry of words in the heat of anger. A single sentence spoken with precision can outweigh a storm of insults. This is why silence before speech is so powerful. It builds tension, focuses attention, and turns your voice into the final word the audience will remember. To control the stage, you must also understand the audience. They are always watching, even when you think they are not. Your reaction is not just for the offender. It is for every ear that hears it, every eye that sees it. They will judge not just the insult, but your command over the scene. When you master the pace, the timing, and the energy of the encounter, you hold their respect. When you let the other man pull you into chaos, you lose it. There is a reason great leaders rarely seem rushed. They know that speed belongs to the desperate. Slowness, calmness, and control belong to the one who commands the field. When you slow the exchange, you force the other side to match your pace. And at your pace, you can see the openings, the weaknesses, the precise place where a single move will decide the outcome. This is why the man who controls the stage is always the man who controls the story that will be told afterward. The offender may believe they have won in the moment, but when the scene is remembered, it will not be their insult that holds power. It will be the image of you, unmoved, untouchable, commanding the space without lifting your voice. And in the realm of influence, that image is worth more than 1,000 words. Power is not always taken in the moment of conflict. More often, it is claimed in the moments after. When insulted, the fool rushes to speak, to defend, to prove himself in front of the crowd. But the one who understands the deeper laws of power knows that silence, observation, patience, and control will serve him far better. By staying quiet after disrespect, you turn the attacker's words into a mirror of their own weakness. You let their insecurity speak louder than any reply you could give. You wait until the field is yours, until the timing favors you. And then, if you choose to act, you strike on your terms, not theirs. In this way, you do not merely win the exchange, you shape the entire narrative, leaving the offender trapped in the shadow of their own making, while you walk away with your dignity, your strength, and the unshakable image of a man who cannot be pulled down by the noise of lesser men.